All right, so welcome to today's session of analog microelectronic circuits. I hope I'm audible. Yeah, so in last class, we started looking at the structure and operation of MOSFET. We looked at three terminal devices, the classification of three terminal devices as BJT and FET. Then we looked at the structure of MOSFET, and we understood that MOSFET is the type of MOSFET. What we are looking at in this course is normally off device where channel is not present, and we have to enhance the creation of the channel by the application of suitable voltage. Then we looked at the structure of MOSFET. It is having a metal layer, an oxide layer, and a semiconductor layer. So we call it as MOS. We have seen the cross section, and uh, we have also looked at the two regions which are diffused onto the P substrate. We call it a source and drain. And by the creation of the source and drain regions, those are N plus regions. That means those are heavily doped regions. By the creation of those regions, there will be two junctions formed in the device. But normally, for all the operation, those junctions should be reverse biased, or those junctions should not conduct any current. So for that reason, we look at the potential of body to which it can be connected and keep the junctions reverse biased. So for an NMOS device, the substrate will be P. So the name NMOS comes from the channel that we'll see very shortly. After channel formation, we will identify that the device is N MOSFET or P MOSFET. Now body should be connected to the least potential in the case of a MOSFET which is having a P substrate, and body should be connected to the highest potential for a MOSFET having N as the substrate. Right. So generally, even though MOSFET is a 4-terminal device, we generally call, or we generally identify that as a 3-terminal device. But the thing is, the fourth terminal is actually connected to the source terminal. Now, one more thing I forgot to tell you. So you can see that source and drain are symmetrical. If you look at the structure of the MOSFET, source and drain are symmetrical. So since it is symmetrical, either of the terminal can be identified as source or drain, or either of the terminal can be identified as source or drain. So here source, by the name it suggests that it acts as a source of charge carriers, and drain is something which collect the charge carriers, and for that reason drain will be at a higher potential compared to source in the case of a N MOSFET, right? So because the charge carriers here are basically electrons, that those details we will see shortly. Yeah, then we started looking at the channel formation inside a MOSFET. We did not consider the source and drain region. We started with the two parallel plate, like in the case of a parallel plate capacitor. If you have two plates, and if a potential difference is applied, one to which the positive terminal of the battery is connected will have positive charges, and that will induce negative charges on the other side if it is separated by a dielectric. And dielectric can be anything like an air vacuum or some dielectric material itself, right? These are the things what we have seen. And then we also looked at the structure of MOSFET with respect to source and drain. Now initially, yeah, some from here we will continue. So initially I hope you understand that even though there are 4 terminals, the body is usually connected to source, or body will be connected to the least potential, and there is no current flow. We are not expecting any current flow here, no current flow here, right? And if you look at the other terminal, gate is also isolated from the rest of the device, or between gate and the rest of the device there is a dielectric called there is a dielectric, and usually the dielectric is silicon dioxide. That means there is no current actually flowing from this gate terminal also, right? So there is no current here, there is no current between these two junctions. That means there is no current here. Now what current we are interested? Actually we are interested in a current which is flowing from source to drain. So this is the current flowing between source and drain is what we are interested. And as we mentioned in the beginning of the discussion, as a 3-terminal device, one terminal is the voltage applied to one terminal is actually controlling the current flowing between the other 2 terminals. So here the current from source to drain, so this is actually the current. This current is being controlled by a voltage applied to the gate. This is the picture. right? So now the if in the case if you have an n plus material, definitely the charge carriers whatever is flowing from source to drain will be electrons, right? Now the current direction, as we told, for historical reasons we mark current direction as opposite. So this is the current direction and we mark this current as I, or we accurately mark it as ID, showing that drain current. We call this as drain current, rather than calling it as a source current, we call this as drain current. So this is the picture. So now what we will do now is we'll try to understand how this gate can actually give a control over the charge carriers flow between the source and drain. I hope you are with me. If you have any doubts in between, please put in the chat box. Right now, so for the discussion, to understand this situation of this MOSFET structure, I told one more thing. We cannot actually apply a voltage with only one volt. A voltage is basically, or a potential difference is applied is between actually two terminals. Now, even though we call it as gate potential, we are applying their potential with respect to source, because source being the lowest potential, and that is also tied to the body, right? Now if VGS is negative, this is a condition what we have seen in the last class. So if your VGS is negative, that means here you will get all negative charges, and because of that negative charges, positive charges will be attracted, and that will be coming to the region beneath the gate. So here you will get positive charges accumulated, and this we call it as accumulation of holes, because P substrate is having holes as a majority carrier. So whenever a negative voltage is applied, holes will be attracted towards the region beneath the gate, and this phenomena we call it as accumulation of holes. Now we'll see from today's class, we'll see how if a voltage, if I'm applying a positive voltage, how does uh, this device, how this device actually respond to that, right? So the first case is over. So my first case was I was applying VGS negative, that resulted in accumulation of holes. Now if I am applying a positive voltage, or if I change the voltage from negative to positive, what happens normally? That means this plate will be deposited with positive charges. So what I'm trying to say here is I'm actually connecting this to a voltage plus minus. That means positive voltage is connected to gate and negative is to the ground, and where your source is grounded, and this also is grounded, right? So plus charges will be accumulated to the metal gate, and because of that positive charges which are laid on the metal electrode, what happens is those positive charges will actually repel the positive charges here, or it will try to attract negative charges towards the region beneath the gate. So what happens initially is because of this positive charges, we know that P substrate will be having many number of charge carriers, free carriers, which are holes. But now those holes will be pushed down or pushed away from the region beneath the gate, and whatever is left out here will be negative immobile ions, right? I hope you understand. With every electron there will be a positive immobile ion, and with every hole there will be a negative immobile ion, right? So whatever is shaded here, this is actually your electron, and this is the hole, right? But these we call this as immobile, because from the atom, if a hole is removed, what we will get back is an ion, and that will be charged as negative. Similarly, an electron, right? When an electron is removed from an atom, it becomes a positive ion. That is the idea here. So when, because of the positive charges put on the gate, holes will be pushed away, and many atoms will be uncovered. We call this as uncovered because the free carriers are removed. So we can see actually negative immobile ions. So when there are negative immobile ions, that means there are no free charge carriers. That means the region what is formed beneath the gate now is actually what? What is this region? What we call a region where when there are no free charge carriers? Can I get a response in chat box? Depletion region. Yes. Yes, Kirtana. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for the responses. Yes, Abhinami, Naman, this is known as depletion region. So again, this we call as when we apply a VGS positive voltage, what happens first is, first so initially it was accumulation of holes, then depletion of holes, or that result in a formation of a depletion region, right? But now, if we keep on increasing this voltage, now when I say if we are keep on increasing, it is not like thousands of volts we are increasing. We do this with increment of small millivolt ranges, right? So as I keep on increasing this gate voltage, the positive charges on the gate will be more and more. So that will definitely needed, because we know that the charges should be compensated. If there are positive charges, negative charges should be there. So as I keep on increasing this positive voltage, positive charges will be on the gate, and that has to be compensated by negative charges, right? So one thing what we can observe is the depletion region depth may widen, depth will increase because of this positive charges accumulating, positive charges on the gate. But at the same time, this also lead to attraction of electrons to the region beneath the gate, because we know that whenever you have more positive charges, equivalent negative charges also should be there. Now holes will be pushed away, and the immobile ions will be like the atoms will be uncovered, and we will get immobile ions that forms the depletion region. But because of the attraction of the positive charges, electrons will be actually attracted towards the region beneath the gate, and that can be observed in this form. So we will, in fact, we will get I'll use a different color here. We'll actually get electrons here beneath this gate. Now from where does these electrons come? These electrons basically comes from the source and drain regions, which are actually heavily doped. So you can see that N plus regions on both sides. So because of the positive voltage applied to the gate, electrons are being attracted from the source and drain, and that will be filled beneath the gate, right? I hope you understand this. So this is our third phase when your VGS is, so here what happens is when you change your VGS from negative to positive and slight positive voltage, depletion will happen. Now when you increase this VGS beyond, say for example, beyond some voltage, we will define what is a voltage. So as of now I'll write this as a high positive voltage. What happens is there will be negative immobile ions in the region beneath the gate, but the positive charges will still attract majority carriers. So the majority carriers from source and drain also will be accumulated. Source and drain also will be attracted to the region beneath the gate, and we can also think that there will be some minority carriers electrons in the p substrate, right? Those minority carriers also will be attracted, but the contribution will be very less because the p substrate itself has very less minority carriers. But we can actually think about a possibility of minority carriers from substrate 2, right? So if you just pause for a while and think what we discussed is, you have a 3-terminal device, and we are interested to know how current flowing between two terminals are controlled by another terminal. But for that, initially we should have a current, but we do not have any current here in the structure, because the current we are expecting between source and drain, but those terminals are not connected. Those terminals are actually separated through p substrate, and we can definitely see that here the electrons, here also electrons. So if electrons has to flow from n plus to this n plus, there should be some conductive channel, but that is not there. What we have in between initially was a p substrate. P substrate will definitely offer some resistance, so there is no current flow. That is why we call this MOSFET as an enhancement MOSFET, as a normally off device. Now we are actually trying out by applying voltage to the gate and see how the device responds, or how the channel responds to that. And we observed that as we apply a voltage, say from negative to positive, initially for a negative voltage, holes will be accumulated, and for when we change from negative to positive, depletion region will be formed. And as I keep on increasing my voltage, electrons, or the majority carriers from the source and drain, heavily doped n plus regions, will be attracted towards the region beneath the gate, and that will actually help to create a channel. We call this as channel. Now, so if you look at the structure, what happened is, so this area, this portion is actually p substrate, but the region beneath the gate, even though the substrate is p, the region beneath the gate is having now a majority carriers as electrons, right? P substrate is having majority carriers as holes, but the region beneath the gate, only this area, the property of that area got inverted. How it is got inverted? Because of the application of positive voltage to the gate. How it got inverted? Because of the attraction of the positive charges, electrons have moved from source and drain, and that actually formed a layer beneath this gate, right? So I'm talking about this region. Now, if you look at this region, that region is not having majority carriers as holes, rather those region is having majority carriers as electrons. For that reason, we call now this layer as an inversion layer. We call this layer as an inversion layer. So what is inversion layer? Inversion layer is nothing but a conducting channel. So how this conducting channel is formed? Because of the attraction of the positive charges. From where those charges came? Those charges has come from the source and drain regions, which are heavily doped, right? So this is a conducting channel. Now, now here I'll define one more additional thing. We call that as threshold voltage. So what is this threshold voltage? We know that we are applying a gate voltage to the we are applying a voltage to the gate, and we call it as gate voltage, or VGS. Now, as I keep on increasing my VGS only, this electrons has moved in, and a conducting channel is formed, and this inversion layer is formed, right? So now the value of that VGS, the value of that gate voltage. So I define this threshold voltage as the value of the gate voltage, the value of gate voltage at which the inversion layer, or the conducting channel is formed. So for this inversion layer to form, or this conducting channel to appear, there some gate voltage is really required. It is not like with a whenever I apply a small voltage itself it should happen. That again depends on the technology and the other things. But we define this using a parameter. We call this as threshold voltage, and threshold voltage is the voltage at which the gate voltage at which the inversion layer or the conducting channel is formed. And now so we call this as VT, and this is defined as threshold voltage. Now what I mentioned here as VGS is, this VGS should be actually uh, at least equal to, this VGS should be at least equal to this threshold voltage. Then only we can say that a conducting channel will be formed. Now if I look at the channel, what kind of channel is this? Between this n plus source and this n plus drain, a channel is formed, and that channel is having electrons as the majority carriers, and so we call this channel as n channel. So the channel formed here, so the channel formed here is an n channel. So n channel is actually formed in a p substrate. So by looking at the channel, we call this as n MOSFET, right? This is how we name the MOSFET. So if the channel is N, we call the MOSFET as N MOSFET, and this N channel is formed in a P substrate because the channel itself is an inversion layer. So inversion layer has to form in a different substrate, right? Now, so can you tell me what should be the polarity of this threshold voltage? From the discussion, it is clear what is the polarity, whether it is positive or negative. Can I get response in yes, it is positive. So NMOS threshold, NMOS VT is positive. So now at this point you can actually think of what happens in the other type of MOSFET. What is the other type of MOSFET? Other type of MOSFET is N MOSFET, sorry, P MOSFET. So what happens in a P MOSFET? In a P MOSFET, we know that the channel will be P. Now if the channel is P, the substrate is actually N. Right. Now in that substrate, that is for a P MOSFET, what should be the threshold voltage? What should be threshold voltage? Yes, it should be negative. Why it should be negative? So you can actually imagine that. So there you have an N substrate initially, and for an on an N substrate, you will be the inversion layer should be of the of positive charges, because there you will have P plus. So I'll just draw it. You will have P plus, and this will be your N substrate. Now the voltage applied here will be negative, so that holes or the holes will be attracted, and a conductive channel will be formed. Inversion layer will be formed. Now for this to happen, the voltage applied to the voltage polarity should be negative, right? So that is the reason why we say that for a P MOSFET threshold voltage is negative, right? So any doubts so far? Any doubts? All right. So no doubts. Okay, right. So this is what we need to understand about a MOSFET regarding threshold voltage. So moving further, now we told that a threshold voltage will actually, if you apply a voltage more than threshold, or if you apply a voltage at least equal to this, we have a conducting channel, right? Now let us look at the channel in a little more detailed way. So, so am I audible? Any background noises coming in?
No, sir.
Okay. Now let us look at this. So now this is N plus regions, right? And now this is the dielectric, and from there you have, these are the this is the structure. Now we'll start our discussion again by considering these two to ground. Again, this body is also connected to ground, right? And we are looking at only this potential Vg, right? So when I say Vg, it is actually VGS or VGD or whatever it is. Sorry, VGS or VGB. So generally we call it as VGS because source is at a lower potential. Now, yeah. So what we will look now is, we know that if I apply a positive voltage, a conducting channel will be formed or an inversion layer will be formed. And now I assume that yes, we have this conducting channel formed here, right? So this is the conducting channel what we have. Now, if you look at the charges in the channel, in order to uh, for the charges, so how can I write the charges in the channel proportional to? So generally I know that charges in the channel Q, if I write Q as a charge, Q is actually charge in the channel, charges in the channel. So this will be proportional to the applied voltage, right? That is the basic equation what we know from a from a capacitor. So here also it acts in the same way. So the charges in the channel are proportional to voltage. Now what voltage it is? So so the entire channel we can actually see as both view this in two ways. One is the this side is actually near to the source and the other is near to the, sorry, this is drain, right? Now if I look at the potential, or if I look at the potential difference across the channel, I can consider it as VGS on one side, and at the drain end I can say the potential is actually VGD. Is this clear? Now I am so what I'll be doing now is I am actually looking at the shape of the channel in a detailed way. So I have just written as case 1, and what I'm stating here is VG is the voltage applied. Now since source and drain are at ground potential, I can consider a voltage between gate and source, or for this channel there is a source end here. This is the source end of the channel and this is a drain end of the channel, and at source end the voltage applied is VGS, and at drain end the voltage is actually VGD. Now now what is the condition of this VGS and VGD? Are they equal? Can I get a response? Both source and drain are at ground. Now if I write a potential as VGS and VGD, are they equal? Can I get a response? Yes, they are equal, right? VGS and VGD are equal. So I can say that VGS is equal to VGD. Now, if the charges in the channel are proportional to applied voltage, since the voltage at source end and drain end, since both are equal, I can actually expect a uniform channel. Will you agree to this? Since VGS is equal to VGD, I can in fact expect a uniform channel throughout. Will you agree? Can I get an yes or no? I don't know. Yes. Okay. Many are agreeing. If you're disagreeing, you can disagree. Please let me know what is your disagreement. Right. So I state here that since the voltage at source and drain end are equal, we can always say that the channel is uniform. Right. Now, let me explain this also. What is this VGS? VGS is actually VG minus VS. Right. VS is actually 0 in this case. So VGS is in fact VG, or VG minus 0. Now, what is VGD? VGD is VG minus VD. Again, in this case, VD is 0, so VGD is equal to VG. So that is how we stated that the channel is uniform, right? Now, this case, I'll assume that I have considered that VDS is 0 in this case. What do you mean by VDS? If I look at drain and source potential, both are at 0. So I can say that VDS is in fact 0. When your VDS is 0, your VGS is equal to VGD, and you can actually expect a uniform channel. Right. Now, the main intention of this device is actually to get a current between source and drain, and that has to be controlled by the gate voltage. That means we have to try by applying a positive VDS, by applying a value for VDS. So that I'll consider as my next case. So my second case is I'll consider VDS greater than 0. So why greater than 0? I am applying a positive voltage, right? So any doubts so far? Okay, now uh, what can I expect if I apply positive voltage between drain and source? Can I get some responses? Now gate voltage is given, so I'm not altering gate voltage. That means there is a specific gate voltage applied, and that has given me a channel, a conducting channel. Now at this time, if I'm applying a VDS, what can I expect? Any answers? If I apply VDS, if I apply a potential difference between drain and source, what can I expect? No uniform channel. Okay, that is a little beyond. Initially, what I'll expect? Yeah, I will. Yeah, right. Flow of charges, a current flow. A current is expected, right? Because since the source and drain are connected through this conducting channel, and since now there is a potential difference between source and drain, I can definitely I can expect a movement of charges because there is a path and there is a potential difference. So current will flow. Yes, we'll come back to that, Kirtana, because there is an effect on the channel as well. So that we'll see. So now as there is a VDS voltage, what happens is, let me now look at the characteristics, the terminal characteristics. So that is very important for an analog engineer, analog circuit designer. We are always interested in the terminal characteristics of any device, right? So as I mentioned before, uh, the current is marked as ID. So I can mark current over here and the drain voltage over here. This is one terminal characteristics. And what is other cara? What is other thing? We can also look at this gate voltage versus drain current. Right, the three terminals are drain, gate and source. We are applying two voltages, one at the gate and one at the drain. Both are with respect to source. So that is why my x-axis is having VDS and VGS. Now I am looking at only one current, that current is drain current. So I marked it as ID. Right. So let me draw what is ID versus VGS first. So when can I expect a current ID? So ID current is expected only when there is a VDS. So that means I am drawing this graph for a particular VDS, or I'll say that a constant VDS. That has to be, there should be some VDS applied. Then only I can expect a current. And that current will flow only when your VGS is greater than a particular VGS. What is that VGS? So when a current will flow, yes, that is VT, right? Very good. So till VT, I cannot expect any current flow even if a VDS is applied. But after VT, current will gradually rise as you apply a VDS. So now VDS is constant, right? So the graph, the second graph shows that VDS is constant. That means you have actually applied a positive VDS, but your VGS was 0 here. That means there is no channel. So whenever a channel is found, current will start flowing. As you increase VGS, that current will also increase. That is very clear. That should be very clear. Why? Because as I keep on increasing my VGS, my conducting channel will be actually stronger and deeper, and that can actually accommodate a larger current. That is idea. So we'll come back to this again. Now if I try to draw the terminal cara between drain and drain source voltage, again that has to happen for a VGS, right? I hope that is clear, because this VGS should be greater than VT. Then only I can expect a current. And say I call this VGS, I'll just now write it as constant. It is understood that VGS should be greater than threshold, right? Now what can I expect now? If I'm applying a VGS, I can expect a current. Now how that will be? That current will be actually, so as you increase VDS, I'll get a current. So if I look at the structure, if you apply VDS, you can expect a proportional current because you have a conducting channel, or in fact between source and drain you can assume that there is a conducting channel, but it is not like a pure yeah, it is a conducting channel. So as you increase voltage, you will actually get an increase in current, and it is more like a linear response you will get, because as you increase VDS, you will actually get an increase in current, right? Now let me ask one question. So this happened for say some VGS equal to say VGS1, say this is 1 volt. Now if I am drawing the same graph for VGS is equal to another VGS2, say it is equal to 2 volt. Assume that both VGS are greater than VT. Now maybe I'll use a different color. So my new VGS is VGS2 and say that is equal to 2 volt. Now can you tell me how this graph will get affected? So for VGS1 I got an ID VDS graph of this form. Now how will be your graph for this yellow color voltage 2? Steeper, okay. Steeper in the sense how will I get little more clarity on that steepness? Closer to y-axis. All right. So how will I understand that? Look at this. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually increasing my VGS, right? So say initially for a VGS value of 1, you have a channel, right? Again, when you say you have a conducting channel, there will be some kind of resistance offered by the channel. Say I assume that I assume the resistance of this MOSFET as R on. MOSFET is on now with the channel. MOSFET is on, and say it is offering some resistance, and I call this as R on. It is on resistance. Now for your VGS equal to 1, your on resistance will be R on 1, and for your VGS equal to 2, you have another on resistance which is R on 2, right? So which will have a higher resistance, R on 1 or R on 2? Yeah, increased current values. Yeah, I got that, Manikandan. Yeah. Yeah. So for a lower VGS voltage, you will get a larger resistance. So as you keep on increasing your VGS, your channel is becoming more and more conducting. That means R on 2 here is lesser than R on 1, right? Now, so what is the slope of this? Slope is actually 1 by R on, right? Now, if your R on 2 is smaller, your slope will be actually larger. So for that reason, I can say that your yellow graph will be on the other side, steeper. As you have mentioned, it is steeper or it is closer to y-axis. That is true, right? Okay. So this is what we know about the current your current your ID versus VDS graph will actually have a shift whenever you have increase in VGS voltage. So as you keep on increasing your VGS voltage, the resistance offered by your channel become more and more conducting, and that will give a lesser resistance through the channel, and that will give actually a steeper curve, right? One thing to remember, both graphs can be plotted only for a particular so ID versus VGS is actually plotted for a constant VDS, assuming that there is a VDS applied between drain and source. If I vary VGS, what will happen to my current? And on the other side, to get an ID VDS graph, we will actually make sure that your VGS voltage is more than VT and there is a specific voltage applied. So that means a conducting channel is present, and now you are actually varying your VDS to get a current, right? Okay. Now now we understood that VDS is positive. So we are continuing with the discussion. Now we understood that there is a VDS applied. VDS is applied. Now, previously I have looked at the structure with source and drain. Right. This is my substrate. Now source is grounded here. Body is also grounded. But now at drain, there is a potential applied. So in this form, this is a VDS, and this is the potential applied here, which is VGS, right? So initially, so let me use different colors over here. So initially, I have actually a channel which is uniform here. Why it was uniform? Let me draw a little bigger. So this is my channel, right? And I stated that this channel is uniform. for the reason that your VGS is equal to VGD, so channel is uniform. Now, by the application of this VDS voltage, what happened? Previously, I have written that. Are you guys with me? Hello. I can take few questions if you have any questions. I can take few questions now, please. Any questions? Can many MOSFETs share? Yes, 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 Lex. Many MOSFETs can share same substrate. Yes, that is true. Irshad, yes. Please go ahead. Lex, I'll give clarity on that now. Irshad, what is your question? Are you telling you have no questions? For that you are telling yes? Okay, okay, sure. Yeah. So Lakshya, I'll come to your question at the end of the class. Right. Now VGS is if your VGS is equal to VGD, channel is uniform. That is well and good. We understood that. Now, what is happening here? I'm applying a VDS. So if a VDS is there, what is the condition of this VGD? So I wrote that VGD is, what is VGD? VGD is VG minus VD, or it can be written as VG minus VD. Again, this can be written as VGS. VG is with respect to VGS and VD is actually VDS. So these are the two voltages applied, VGS and VDS. Now what is happening? I'm increasing this VDS. Now VDS is increasing. What happens to VGD? If your VDS is increasing, so as VDS is increasing, your VGD will actually reduce. So if VGD is reducing, what happens? Previously, for a uniform channel, your VGS and VGD were equal, but now your VGD is actually reducing. Now, if your VGD is reducing, as we stated before, the charges in the channel are proportional to the voltage. Now at the drain end, you are actually having a lesser voltage. So if at the drain end, if your voltage is lesser, charges also will be lesser. Why? As VGD is reducing at the drain end, charges also will be lesser. That means the previous uniform shape of the channel will be disturbed now, or we say that now the channel is actually tapering. So how will we understand this? So I will redraw that over here. So this was my initial condition. Say channel was actually uniform. Right, this was uniform. This is source end and this is drain end. But by the application of the voltage VDS, your VGD is actually dropping. So that is actually reducing voltage at this side. So that means your channel started tapering. So now this is actually the new channel. So what you can see here, drawn in blue and drawn in yellow, both are different. What is the difference? The difference is because of the drop in the potential at the drain end, or your VGD is actually reducing. Because of reduced VGD, I have actually different shape. Now, if you keep on increasing VDS, if you are still increasing VDS, your VGD will drop further. Your VGD will actually drop further. That will make channel like this, right? Now, if you further reduce VGD, that will again taper the channel like this. And if you furthermore reduce VGD, that will end something in this form, right? Are you getting this phenomena? VGD is actually VGS minus VDS, and as VDS increases, your VGD is reducing, and that is actually creating or that is actually causing a change, change to the uniform shape of the channel. And as I hope it is Kirtana, right? So as you suggested, as you told, the channel will not have a uniform shape. It will actually have a tapered shape, right? Now, so how does this affect? How does this affect the operation of MOSFET? Or let me look at this first. Now, if a channel is just present, what can I understand? What can I take from that point? What will be the VGD here? So still there is a channel, a very small channel. So if a channel is present at the drain end, I can say that the VGD voltage is at least equal to VT, because VT is the voltage that VT is actually the gate voltage that will actually provide a channel. So that means if you have a channel present at the drain end, it says that your VGD is at least equal to VT, right? Or I can write this further as VGS minus VDS is equal to VT. Or I can write this further as if your VDS is equal to VGS minus VT, right? I can say that channel at this drain end is narrow and it is just present. That means if you further increase your VDS, definitely your channel will be absent, or we say that as channel is becoming pinched off at the drain end. Is this clear? Any doubts in this? Maybe I can take questions now, as there are only 8 minutes remaining. So tomorrow we will see how the characteristics will get modified because of this application of VDS. Or probably you can actually you can think about the Cara now. So if I plot this VDS versus ID at a particular VGS, say some VGS2, at that VGS, your current was actually, as you are increasing your VDS, your ID was also increasing initially. But what happens after some time? After some time, uh, as you keep on increasing VDS, this phenomena happens, channel tapering happens. And after a particular value, after a particular point, your current will not increase further. Rather, current will actually stop, or current will actually stop increasing, and current will be constant. And this voltage is nothing but, we will look at this again, this voltage we call it as VDS sat, and that is nothing but VGS minus VT, right? The voltage what I mentioned just now, because when your VGD equal to VT, that means your VDS is just VGS minus VT, and there is a channel present, so current will be actually flowing and current will be constant there, right? So we will look at this Cara once again tomorrow. I just want to conclude here. So now I can actually take questions. If you have questions, I'll clarify, and yeah, I'll clarify your questions first. So thank you for attending today's session. I'll just stop recording now.